has this adjustable bridge monstrosity on it, which underneath the top, underneath these bolts, there's these huge nuts with a big flange on them, and they're each of them is heavy, so it adds this weight to the top, which again
so
makes
it's an acoustic with an adjustable height bridge.
Yeah, a lot of '60s Gibsons are that way, and particularly LGOs, and you'll see G45s that are that way too. Tom Petty had one that sounded great. But the thing to be careful for is a lot of these that have these bridges, this is actually plastic. And they make it look like it's wood. And so a lot of people get them thinking they scored, man, I got an LGO, and then they're like, oh, dude. And it's like hollow plastic.
What?
And so then they have to get this made into a
Can't be
bridge.
worked on, okay.
Yeah, and so those nuts on the thing add some mass to the top, which make them quiet. The bonus of all of that is it doesn't go out of tune. You can go out in humidity and heat and whatever. I don't have a tuner, you'll notice, and I'm not going to tune because it's in tune. It always is in tune.
And we brought it in from the car, and it's in tune. Wow, crazy.
I played in Detroit on what night was that? Even Friday night. And I just took it out of the case down there, went right up and played, and I put it back in the case and took it out of the case this morning. And
wow, that's amazing.
Nice.
It just never needs to be tuned, and also it does not feed back because of the ladder bracing. It doesn't, it doesn't get out of control even if somebody accidentally cranks the monitor.
So LGL is that model.
LGO, Ladies
LGO.
Guitar Zero. And Gibson had an LGO, and this was 68. They had an LGO, an LG1, LG2, and an LG3. When you get to the 2 and the 3, they have X bracing and a different style bridge. And if you can find like a 1959 LG3, like a Sunburst one or something, very few guitars will rival the kick-assness of a late 50s LG3.
Wow.
They are just incredibly great guitars. They're light. They have that thump on the bottom and the scoop mid-range and the sparkle on top like Gibson acoustics do. They're not like, mid-range like a Martin. So if you're a singer, they work really well because you're in between. Martin's kind of sometimes in between where your voice is.
So they might call that kind of guitar a parlor guitar.
It might, yeah. That's probably a good, way. It might be, it's just a little bit smaller. And like you said, it's got a 1.5 inch nut. Look at how low the B string is to the fret at the nut. It's just stupid.
Barely have to play it.
It's just stupid that it works. And it is tiny, so you really have to, be on top of it like that and be really super vertical and be really super careful with it. But I played Rickenbacker, before, and they have narrow nuts too.
It's like playing a mandolin.
Oh, I can't play mandolin at all.
Too small?
No, yeah. Can you play mandolin?
I can shred a little bit of mandolin.
Well, you're a great guitar player, man. I mean,
I just bought a
you're like a
12-string
legit
mandolin.
player. No.
Yeah. It's like a mandotar.
It sounds cool. It's
It
different.
has to have a wider neck and it's bigger.
Oh, the neck, you could land an airplane on it.
Right, it's a big old gigantous thing.
All right, you know what? Let's officially start.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have
Are we recording?
We are recording.
Okay, good morning. This is Sunday morning in Studio C with Andy Schiller
Hey,
and
everybody.
myself, Michael Snyder-Barker. We have this wonderful guest, good friend of ours, Mike Gentry. How you doing, Mike?
Round of applause.
I'm great. I'm a little late this morning. Woke up a little late and drove down here. And,
We're on musician time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Special guests, they always come in late.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I mean, how do we know you're a star if you're early?
Well, after this is over.
I don't
is
know.
the important question.
But, we've been doing this podcast now. This is our fifth
This
one.
is episode 4, everybody.
4. I was, I can't, no, 5.
And we have guests lined up for the next 2 weeks, too. So
Yeah,
we're on
yeah.
a roll.
Beautiful.
But we're not going to say their name just in case it doesn't happen. And
Because I could happen all over again.
well, I mean, it's just realistic. It's a snowy day. Someone gets their leg chopped off somehow.
I
Or,
hate when that happens.
yeah. Or, their eye pops out somehow gruesomely.
We're
So
off to a good start, folks.
anything above that, that's the, that's the bar we
As
set.
opposed to ungruesomely. Right.
Right. But, I've known you, Mike, now, what, about 8 years?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think we might have met at
Rude Awakenings. Yeah.
At the open mic there.
Yeah. And first you started coming in to play, and then you spent a little time hosting.
Yes, and Ted Monti was the host
Yeah.
there, and Ted's great. I mean, if there's ever a hero of the local community that doesn't get enough credit, it's Ted Monti.
Agreed.
And yourself. And he was doing the open mic there, and I had just started playing solo acoustic out, and he was super gracious and super cool, and the group that came there was great. You were one of the people that was there. And then he said, well, I'm not going to do this anymore. And Dave Solo, that I was going there with, super good friend of mine, an unbelievably great guy. Hey, Dave. We were like, well, what if we just host it? And we were clueless. But we just did.
Yeah.
And it was great. And the people that came were fantastic. And that, like all good things, runs its course.
Yeah.
But yeah, 8 years or so.
Something like that. I actually hosted there a couple times in Ted's absence.
Oh, right.
Throughout the years, and it was a lot of fun.
It was a good open mic.
Yeah.
So, I've noticed we have a lot of open mic nights going around in the southeast Michigan music scene. I mean, you got your Ipsy Ale House, you got your Unity Vibrations, Ziggy's.
Was it North Star?
North Star.
The Arc?
The Arc has an open mic night, and hey, you got to be really good to play at the Arc open mic night.
No, you just have to be lucky.
Yeah.
Not everyone gets to play there.
Well,
I
there's a
guess.
lottery system.
Yeah.
And if your ticket gets pulled, you get to play. And if your ticket doesn't get pulled, you get to put 2 tickets in next time. And if you don't get pulled that time, if you get a
I
third
think you're
ticket,
guaranteed.
you're guaranteed to play. Yeah. So that's, a lot of people want to play there. Oh, there's Manchester's open mic on Wednesday night.
Oh, yeah, at the grill?
Yeah.
This is Village Tap, is that what it's
yeah,
called?
Village Tap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Yeah, can't forget that one.
No, that's a cool raucous.
It's a raucous.
It's a raucous
It's
vibe.
loud in there.
Oh yeah. You will earn your stripes dealing with, dealing with the audience at that place for sure.
Yeah.
Really fun.
Yeah.
Really fun.
And if they don't throw a bottle at you, you must not be doing
No, at
too well.
that place, it's fun. That's a really fun.
Yeah, not fun in those terms. But what do you got going on for you lately? Gigs, performances, recordings?
Yeah, and I should have probably been better prepared to say exactly where I'm playing. I'm playing at Moonwinks, at Crazy Wisdom, at Manchester Underground. And I should have the list and be looking at that, but
We can always post it in the show notes
but
below.
it'll be in the links below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell.
Hey, I like this guy already.
Because it really means a lot, and it'll help our podcast a lot if you.
It feeds the algorithm.
Is that what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, those hungry algorithms. Yeah,
I don't know anything about algorithms.
I don't either.
But my plan, it's been kind of, music is weird. I mean, I'm a 62-year-old guy that plays guitar and sings songs, and, you gotta question whether the world really needs another 62-year-old guy with a guitar song. There's voices that are younger, they have more at stake, they have more future ahead of them than I do, that they're going to have to live through this whatever is happening right now. and they're going to have to stand up. And for me to be thinking, to take the oxygen out of the room for that, I wonder about that. I wonder about the times that we're in.
Yeah.
How to respond to that as an artist. Do we deal with the stuff that's going on directly and report on it, like if we were a newspaper reporter? Do we try to somehow, intimate it, in the song that clever people can go, oh, this is actually about this thing?
Yeah.
Or do I just keep doing what I've been doing, which is write about what just comes out of me when I sit down with a piece of paper and a guitar, and I just bring that and just be content with that what I'm doing artistically is a document of my life, and once I've shuffled off the mortal coil, it'll be a realistic impression of who I was as a person. And that's a kind of a selfish sort of, care about what my kids and my close friends and the people that might, ever listen to a recording of mine would think.
Your legacy.
Yeah. I guess that's what it is. And you feel a little bit bad about going into that hole when the times require people to sort of give voice to, if not just common ordinary sanity, but some way out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that want to, they get down in a hole, and the last thing you need is a guy down in the hole yelling, "We're in a hole! Oh my God, we're in a hole!" Oh! You want somebody that knows how to make a ladder,
Right.
to get out of the hole. And so just to talk about what's wrong with the world and to put the blame on other people, and
Without offering a solution.
That's how we got
Or
here.
without offering hope.
That's how we got here. Right.
I know.
Right.
But that's very insightful. So.
And so I'm struggling that, with how do a guy with a guitar, the world doesn't need another folk singer right now, or maybe it does.
The music is so incredibly powerful. Look, all the folk songs of the 60s were just amazing. Early 70s. And, Dave Roof had that Michigan Music Resistance thing that he's bringing back.
Dave is the greatest.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah. And I wrote one for the first one. I wrote another one for this one. And I'm actually recording as a band.
Oh.
I'm playing guitar, rhythm, singing lead. Andy's playing electric guitar. Dave's playing...
it's a power trio plus Michael.
And then Dave Roof on bass and Phil Mack on drums.
Oh, I love Phil.
Yeah, we've got 3 songs we've recorded.
I love Phil.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, but the power of words and the way you construct them, like your song "One Water." Just about the Flint water crisis. It was just well constructed, and you didn't say anything negative. You gave hope in that song.
That's a weird song.
Well, it has to be. You wrote it.
Well, yeah. Thank you. Brian Delaney, longtime friend of mine. We came up in kindergarten together. This was several years ago, maybe 2000. I don't know, whatever year that was, 16, 17, maybe somewhere in there. It's hard to tell. The COVID sort of.
Yeah.
I think we're on like a weird, bad timeline right now.
I call them the lost years.
Yeah. And like something that seemed like a year ago was 5 years ago, and everything screwed up. But anyhow, he texted me and said, "Hey man, do you want to meet me up at Crazy Wisdom?" And I was like, "Well, what for?" And he said, "Oh, just come up there and meet me. I'll be upstairs." And I was like, "Okay." And so he brought me a really cool resonator guitar. The metal one with the cone and all the widgetry. Yeah, the hubcap and the widgets and stuff like that. And I couldn't believe it. And he goes, "Here, man, I figure I probably owe you this, after all the years of nonsense that we did when we were young." And I said, "Well, you probably owe me a couple of these, actually." And he laughed. And I asked him what he wanted for it. And he said, "Write a song about, the Flint water crisis, write a tribute to that. And I was like, oh. And so I thought how to do it. You know, I could talk about who did what wrong and
Yeah.
like exactly what you're saying. Thank you
Yeah.
for saying that. But the song ended up just being about water in general because I think that everybody's about 2/3 water.
Yep.
And so I ended up writing it about that. And when I got the guitar home, I sat down and played the chorus to the song. As soon as it was in tune, I put my phone on its little phone app and sang the chorus exactly like you hear it on the record. And I couldn't believe it, that I sang the whole chorus, just improvised it. And then the fear was how to write the rest of it without making it stupid or messing it up. You know, I mean, how many songwriters have a great first verse and a great chorus,
Yeah.
and writing the second verse is hard, and then writing the third verse can be almost impossible. Because if you've done your job with songs, you've said everything there is to say in 2 verses and a chorus, and the bridge is just there. It's a matter of convention, and people feel obligated to sort of put a bridge in there. But that's kind of how I write. I don't normally think I'm going to write a song about a certain thing. Yeah, there was I went to see a book author, and he said he doesn't write to say what he thinks about a thing. He writes to find out what he thinks about that thing.
Yeah.
Because you can surprise yourself when you just start writing.
Yeah.
You know, you sometimes don't even know what the song is about until you've been playing it for several years.
Right.
Or like playing it, you know, I've played my songs before for somebody that was in hospice that was going to, you know, go off the coil in less than a day. And I suddenly realized that, you know, a huge amount of my songs are about mortality, about the impermanence of the beautiful blue ball miracle thing in space that we're on.
And life experiences.
Well, yeah, and who knows how those things bleed out. I don't know if they're spelled out as clearly as your life experience, or if they're the feeling that those experiences have impressed upon.
Yeah, and the feelings really come through in your songs.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I'm starting to wake up.
I brought you some water if you're interested.
I think
I need 1 water
Oh, yeah.
bottle.
Yeah.
I think everything that you said makes sense to me, especially your comment about
Thank you.
does the world need another folk singer? You know, I think no matter what
yeah.
decade it is, we can always use another folk singer. No matter what's going on in the world, or
Oh, thank you.
no matter what decade it is, or whether there's a pandemic, or whether it's the post-pandemic, or whether it's the
Yeah.
electronic world, whether kids are making music on their iPads, you know what? We still need another folk singer.
Okay.
Because
Okay, so if that's true, do you see a way that if that person can be most effective in what you're saying? If the world needs it, what is it that they need? Is they need that person's personal insight, that person's personal life? Do they need them to report on society as they see it? What
Yep.
do you see them doing that would lend you to say this is important?
the answer to that question would be to be themselves, to say what it is they think, and not necessarily go, you know, there's this great trend. Oh, I have a TikTok trend that I'm going to do. Okay, well, I guess TikTok is canceled as of today. But you know, a lot of performers are like, well, I have to do this thing in order for people to like me, or I need to get more views, so therefore I need to fill in the blank. But what I find refreshing is someone that says, I don't care about any of that. Here's a song that, you know, comes from the heart. And that stands the test of time no matter how technology changes.
That's a great answer.
And as a music teacher that teaches kids and stuff, okay, any kid can open GarageBand and hit a few buttons, and you know, you could have Logic Pro and have it write your chords and
I
your
can't.
drum beat. Hey, you know, if you don't know how to do that, just ask an 11-year-old, because my daughter will show you how to make a song in 30 seconds on her iPad. But it'll never go out of style for learning how to put your fingers on the strings and make a sound. And I think that no matter how technology changes, no matter how much AI there is, or maybe the more AI there is, the more we need someone with an original idea.
Yeah.
You know, and when you asked Andy that question, I almost jumped in and said, man, it's the feelings that you project through the songs that you're just speaking your mind. You're saying your words. You're emoting. You're letting people in a way. And anybody who is willing to listen to that, cool. But it just matters that it's your words. It's your feelings. And if somebody doesn't like it, well, so what?
But so this is good. This is good. I feel like that you know, entering into a therapy session.
Well, you're at the right place.
I've come to the right place. Yeah, that's more than just showing up really tired.
Sunday
really,
mornings
really
in
late.
Studio C, music plus also guitar therapy.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and
Ask the questions that you need answered.
And I was also thinking that singer-songwriter musicians are so different than orchestras per se. Orchestras play what's on the page. Singer-songwriters, you know, play what's in the heart and in the head, and it's mechanical
it's a different
or
thing.
emotional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and I am a therapist, and I tend to tune into the emotional part. You know, that comes out of the music.
Well, I'm a terrible French horn player too, and I have played in orchestras, and so I do know that you play what's on the page, and you know, and French horn is a perilous instrument to play in the first place.
French horn, don't you always point it back toward the back wall while you play it?
Yeah.
And if you play from the heart in an orchestra, they kick you out.
They do. I was kicked out of marching band for doing exactly that. For having a little chart on the bell that was every key, that all the notes that were in the keys, and I would just improvise, and we'd be like, you know, doing parades, and I'd just be like trying to like hit the solo from Kiss Love Gun or something, you know.
Now, I'm not condemning orchestra, and I'm not condemning people who
Orchestra's
play from
frickin' rule, man.
sheet music. It's just different. It feels different.
It's really different. To sort of, I think people can really, there's people that are great playing off the page and can play anything, and then there's people that are really great playing, that the page just renders them silent.
Yeah.
You know, it's how do you get a guitar player to stop playing? You know, put sheet music in front.
I thought that was how you get a drummer to stop playing.
Yeah, thank you.
I thought that was how you get a drummer to stop playing.
Because it's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
You know, the sheet music thing. I have a hard time with sheet music. I always had a hard time figuring out songs off of records.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the thing that happens to me is if I'm watching somebody and I'm supposed to be paying attention so that I can do it, and this I took like some, you know, you can probably tell with my graceful, you know, demeanor that I took a bunch of like weird, you know, interpretive dance classes and whatnot, and you're supposed to be like watching them and then do this thing that they were doing, but I would just be like sitting there like, wow, just watching them. And then I'd be like, oh crap, I was supposed to be paying attention in that way to be able to do it.
Right.
And I was more experiencing what they were doing rather than studying what they were doing.
Yeah.
And that was the way with music with me. And so I've never really been in a cover band. I've just played original songs my whole life.
You played one cover song.
I've played a whole bunch of cover songs. I mean, I play, you know, an Elvis song here or there, a Johnny Cash.
Well, Kiss.
A Kiss song, yeah. But it's mangled beyond recognition, so people don't even know it until they hear the chorus. And, but I have to, because they're what made me want to play guitar when I was 15, you know.
Yeah.
Seriously. I used to sit there when I was a kid, and I would just do that and just wait for it to go away, you know.
Me too. You know what I would do? I would lay my head on the guitar like this
Yes.
and feel the vibrations
You're
in
right,
my
until it good.
face.
It's the greatest.
We'll
Then
just
you
do
just
that.
play an E chord and just
Yeah.
be like, that is the greatest
That's the
noise.
coolest experience ever.
That's ever happened.
And you know what? The first time I ever picked up a guitar, I looked at the dots and I thought to myself, that's got to be how you play the song. Right? So you play this dot, and
Right.
then you play this dot, then you play this dot, and then you play this dot, and that must be how you make a song, right? And then later I found out that's Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic by The Police.
Does that?
G-A-B.
You were not wrong. Yeah, but it is. It's the guitar, just the way you can sit like this with it. That you can.
It's a part of you.
It's a part of me. I played, almost every day since I was 15 years old. And I was telling my mom, I said, I've been playing guitar, Mom, for 47 years. You'd think I'd be good by now. And my mom said, you'd think you'd have given up by now. And,
Your mom's a funny person.
yeah, and that made me laugh. But it's a kind of a constant companion. It sees you when you're sleeping, it knows when you're awake, and all that stuff. It knows if you're bad or good. And there's always something to learn about guitar. It's been used in a million different ways. There's a limitless amount of techniques that have been applied to it. Every kind of music that you've heard, from Mozart to the Ramones. I mean, the notes go from there to the 12th fret, and then they just kind of repeat. So everything in the freaking world is somewhere here. It's all the rock and roll is somewhere in there, and to find not only all the stuff that you love, and if you want to play songs that other people have written, but everything that you ever want to do is in here. It's kind of like if you're a poet, all the words and everything that you ever want to write is all the keys are there, and it's just 26 letters. And
You just have to put them in the right order.
And you just have to put them, exactly. You just have to put them in the right order. And so that's what the quest is to just keep getting, I think, better. Better's a weird thing. A lot of guitar players, we can get into a thing where we're trying to write songs, but also there's a thing about a guitar player mentality that you need to, like, there's a certain, athletic aspect to it that people want to, scale the mountain of, whatever it is.
Technique.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And so they want to do that. And so my thought about it is if you're writing songs and you have a reasonable amount of technique, you'll want to satisfy the artistic part of yourself and have the songs be, reflect that awesome technique that you've acquired. But when you're first writing songs, they're often not as good as you're ever going to be. You're going to get better as a songwriter, just like you're going to get better as a guitar player. And so people will be like, oh, that sucked, man. They'll write a song that's terrible. And they think that the way out of it is to just learn some jazz chords. It's like, hey, it's going to make it worse, dude. You're going to make it worse because now you're going to want to incorporate all those, but you have, Mary Had a Little
Not
Lamb.
the context, yeah.
Exactly. You don't have the songwriting stuff to do it. And I think that especially good guitar players have a fear of simplicity.
Hey, look at Jack White, it's like he wrote that song that everybody knows all over the world now.
Yeah.
It's one finger, so
Right.
if you can write like that, then you're golden.
Yeah, I think that might have been Da Vinci or Michelangelo, one of those guys, that said that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication.
Sure.
And
Even John Williams says that, the film composer.
yeah.
He's like, the more simple, the better. If you can't sing it, no one's going to remember it.
Exactly. And so I think my quest always has been simple melodies, stuff that has a tune. I've never been singing has always been the thing that I've always been the most like. I don't know my way into it. Like I sort of took to the guitar straight away. So singing was always something that the only reason why I sang in the band is because we auditioned a bunch of people and the other guys in the band were like, well, why don't you just sing the songs, man? So I sort of became a singer by default.
Yeah.
And I never considered myself like a singer. And to find your way out of what you think is good singing, rock and roll and all that, and to find a way to your own voice and be cool with it. Well, I can't hit those notes that.
Yeah, comparing yourself to other people is always a trap. Huh?
Oh yeah, and you can hear it when people do covers and stuff, and they imitate like the sound of that singer's voice, rather than connect their self to the lyric and be like, well, how do I find meaning in these words and communicate it through me?
Right.
And you can,
I mean, a lot of people want to just echo exactly the song.
And that's cool,
Yeah.
That's
man.
cool. I mean, if you're in a dance band and that's
Unless
what people
it's
want to
Dave
hear.
Matthews, then don't try to sing like him because you'll never be able to do it.
Right. But he plays guitar crazy too, though, man. I mean, you can probably do that stuff, but some, slub like me, I ain't coming close to Dave Matthews.
So do you have any solid bits of advice for anyone out there that's listening to, like, if they want to become a songwriter, what could you just, like, in a short one sentence little blurb, what advice would you give them for, like, where to start or what direction to go in?
Here's what I would do. If I was going to be a songwriter, I would take 2 chords. And I'd be like G chord, and I'll play like they showed in the books. And then go A minor. And go back. Just take 2 chords. Yeah, let's just play together.
2
And then
chords
look
is all
around
you
the room,
need.
right? There's a coffee cup on a djembe in the silver pit next door. And there's a drum set in the corner. Who could ask for anything more? And there's a time in the morning you woke up late and you came to wait for someone to say something great, and that's what I would do. That's what I would say to you. If you're trying to write a song, just play what you can, sing what you see, don't worry about nothing. It'll take care of itself, and that's what I would do.
That sounded great, and so that was just off the cuff. So
Yeah,
what
that
I
was
hear you
just
saying is
yeah.
like, if you have a piece of paper and a pencil and you're scratching your head, you're going, I gotta write the best song in the world. And
You don't.
I have to
Yes.
like overthink it, and I need to just like, I want to write a song right now. Okay, well stop thinking about writing the song and start strumming your guitar and singing about this coffee cup that's sitting right there.
Yeah, and
go.
Yes, exactly, because you'll do that, and you will stumble onto some things that
Yeah.
are kind of cool.
Yeah.
I turn on my notes app on my phone in the morning, and I just play the first thing that comes to my mind, and I sing the first melody that comes out of my head into it. Because everybody's trying to write the greatest song in the world, and they're trying not to suck in front of themselves. You don't want to look in the mirror of your notes apps and go, man, that guy's terrible. But you have to sort of get over it. And there was a little catchy little part in that.
There was that one, the words about there's a coffee cup and there's a drum set sitting next to me. Maybe you could change those words, but the melody you came up with.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
You got
See,
a
I
good
can sing it
memory,
right
man.
back to you because That melody was really catchy.
So, okay, so that's one thing. I would try stuff like this too. So if you got a G, and this is not my strong thing, but he asked, and you don't care if I'm not good. If you're still watching, you really don't care. So I would take a major scale, right? Like, or if you're cool, you play it this way. And I would sing that. I would sing the major scale along to what I'm doing. Because if you go dun 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 dun, right? Something's in there.
Yeah.
And get your ear to hear where the notes are in that scale. And if you expand it, if you go a G chord and then a C chord, and I always play a C chord like this, and a D chord, a 1-4-5 progression, and it's 1-4-5 because 1, 2, 3, 4. This is G, A, B, C. That's the 4. 5 is a D. So a G chord, a C chord, and a D chord. Those three chords have all the notes in the major scale built into them. So if you can hear the major scale over this chord and just sing those notes and then play these other chords, you'll come up with something.
Yeah.
And pretty soon you'll get bored of doing stuff that you think is terrible, and you'll start to make progress on other stuff, and you'll get a little bit tired of doing that, and you'll be like, well, what else can I do? And you'll make progress. But if you use the simple pieces that you have and make things with the smallest Lego set possible, your imagination grows, and the more pieces that you have, the more possibilities that you'll have available to you. That said, I've gone down like the rabbit hole of weird tunings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people are like, oh, you go to a different tuning, man, it'll inspire you to a whole different trip. So I'd go in a different tuning, I spend an hour, and I'm like, man, this sounds great. And then I'll actually figure out what it is, and it's frickin' G, C, and D.
Right.
It's the same stuff, because I like simple melodies.
But it has a fresh sound.
It does.
And it feels inspiring to try something new that you didn't.
It does. I really, I love different voicings for chords, I love playing them in different places on the neck. And so I'll do that just, I think, as some form of trickery somehow when I'm playing live. Just so it looks like I'm not just going.
What is that guitar wizardry?
Right, exactly. I was playing the same chord in different places, so it looks like I'm doing something tricky.
Right.
It's just the same crap.
A lot of folks tell me that they start with the music. And I've been a lyricist for a long
awesome,
time because I've been a drummer for 40 plus years.
Yeah.
And so I still kind of write with the lyrics first. Like I wrote one song for I don't know if it was a 50 and 90 or a February album.
Oh yeah, you do those things.
And I wrote this song and I said, this is a house. It's a well lived in house. Dirty dishes in the sink, cobwebs on the wall. And I just kind of looked around, and that became a really interesting, real song.
Well, you are really a fearless songwriter.
Mm-hmm. What's the fear?
Yeah. But I mean, the way you approach songwriting, because you just got a guitar, you're a drummer, and they're like, I'm going to learn how to play guitar.
Yeah.
And from the beginning, you're like, I know 3 chords, man, and I'm going to write songs.
Yep.
And you wrote songs with beginning technique, with beginning chords, and you just freaking did it.
Yeah.
And it getting better and better and better and better.
And then 3 years later, you have your own CD
it's amazing.
Produced at a studio.
It's amazing. I mean, if you...
This was my thought, Mike.
Yeah.
At the time I started learning guitar, I was 56. I'm 69. And I was thinking, I have more years behind me than ahead of me. What's to be afraid of?
Yeah, me too.
I mean, if I don't do something, and if I wait till I'm ready, I'll never do it. Well,
Hey, I guess I'm the youngest guy in the room,
Yeah.
so I don't know. That feels good, I suppose, but I'm going to be 50 in 2 months. So
Really?
there it is.
You know, and it's
When's your birthday?
April 4th, so
April 4th.
3 months, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's 4-4.
4-4.
That's easy to remember. Send your cards and letters and all your well wishes.
4-4.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Happy
4-4.
birthday to me.
you know, and that's why you became a musician, because it's in 4-4.
It's in 4-4,
so stupid.
everybody. I never even thought of that. Common time. My birthday's in common time.
Okay, I'm 11:22, so I'm half time.
I'm 5'14",
11:22.
so I don't count.
Yeah, you're odd meter.
Yeah, I'm an odd meter. You know, I don't know. I've always enjoyed doing the podcast bit. I enjoyed it with Broski, and we talked to a lot of really cool people.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been wanting to do it again, and I've been talking to Andy about it, and he said, "Why don't we just do it?" And I said, "Very cool. Let's do it." And you know, we've got some great people lined up to come in. We've also got you.
Thank you.
We have some
Thank
great
you.
musicians and Mike Gentry.
Oh, exactly. You don't ever have to worry about hooting on me. 'Cause,
I know.
I mean, I have provided plenty of opportunity for
Yeah.
that to happen, and I accept it. And
And the cool thing
I know
about
it's with
you,
love.
one of the cool, I mean, there are many, but a couple of cool things about you is you not only know how to write songs from the heart, you also know technique, and you know instruments, and you know how things fit together. And that really kind of enhances your understanding of what to put down on paper and words.
You know, I've had a lot of people, and I've taught songwriting. I taught songwriting at Washington Community College, completely with that. There was a whole, I was completely what do you call it, qualified to do that, but I did it, and it was great. And
You were qualified.
I had summer camps for 12 years with kids that came in. It was called Day Jams, and there'd be 60, 80 kids a week would come in, and we'd form them into bands based on their age and experience, age of 9 to 15. They would make bands, and every band would write 2 original songs. So there was a lot of songwriting in that, and a lot of that was just the encouraging thing of just go with what you know.
Yeah.
If you know how to play a guitar solo, and you were 9 years old and you were playing that, and you understand, because kids would come in and they would not understand the concept that most music goes 1, 2, 3,
Right.
4, happy birthday to you. And they didn't know that. And so they would learn that on the first day there, and it would just blow their minds, because they'd be in the car on the way home and they'd be like, "Oh, Mom, Dad, listen, it goes 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you can count along, do it, and it's awesome." And so it'd be incredible. And so for them to be playing the simplest thing in the world would be so exciting.
And then next week they're playing math rock.
And the next day they're playing math rock. Yeah. And so I've taught songwriting. I've been around it my whole life. I've gone to workshops and conferences and endless songwriter circles and la 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 la. And if somebody asked me how to be a songwriter, I would say, I don't know. I don't know how to do it. I know what I like. I know what other people don't like, because I've got a lot of those too.
Yeah.
If anybody says, it's easy to write a hit song, well, I would suggest to you that it's a lot easier to write a song that people don't like than it is to write a song that people do like.
Absolutely.
And if you don't believe me, I got a million of them. But about the lyrics first, for a long time, I was a lyrics first writer for a long time. And it's only recently that I've started doing the thing where I'll get the phone and I'll just stumble through syllables and words that maybe form and so on. And then the tricky part is to not screw it up if you've got a good thing. You're like, I don't want to write something that, it's, when it just comes out and you're not judging what it is and it just goes out onto the paper, sometimes you can live with those words. But if you sat and thought about those exact same words for an hour and then came out with it, you'd go, that's crap, man. But there's something about coming up with something in the moment that your mind is less judgy about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you think, this is fantastic. And so I try to do as much of it as I can in the moment and not overthink it. You know, going back and editing, once you've got the thing together, right?
Yeah.
You can change it around, and you know, I tend to mix, you know, she and we and her and me, you know, and whatever those words are that
They.
and confuse where you are. You know, you're talking in the first person, then you're kind of talking in a different way, and I'll do that sometimes, and sometimes I care, and sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I listen to enough Def Leppard records to know that the lyrics sometimes don't matter as much as the sound of the lyrics.
There's that.
Right?
Sometimes you just need to sing, hey.
Right.
And sometimes you need to write a song called Choppin' Broccoli.
Or Mosquito on a Strawberry Train.
Mosquito on a Strawberry Train. I didn't write Choppin' Broccoli, but I did write Mosquito on a Strawberry Train.
But what I hear you saying is, number one, you know the Nashville numbering system. You know what 1-4-5 is. And so learning those chords, singing the scale, that really helps.
Yes.
Number two, what I hear you saying is probably something that George Martin and the Beatles did, which is like, I read an interview with John Lennon, and he was like, yeah, when we wrote the White Album, we wrote 100 songs, and then we kept the top 10, and the other 90 are in the trash. So, you know, don't just write one song and go, my whole career depends on whether or not you like this song.
Right.
Don't do that. Write 100 songs, and then find the very best one.
That's the benefit of that 50 and 90 song challenge.
Oh yeah, I you know, because I follow that along,
I know.
and I see like what you. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm like, that dude is like writing 2 songs a day. And
Write a song every day, and then you know what? After 30 days, you might have 29 bummer songs that are maybe not so good. But you're going to have one gem that is going to be your great song that you're going to show off to people and be real proud of.
And that's the fun part of it. You know, next month is a February Album Writers Month.
I might do that this time.
Okay, that'd be kind of fun.
You know, you're making me. You guys are giving me some sort of encouragement that it's okay to, you know, to, because I write and record and stuff all the time. But for me, the whole thing about doing music, you know, I'll write 100 songs, but the reason why I do that is because I love songwriting, and I love doing it. Some people like to run, some people like to climb, some people like to paint, some people, you know, like to sing, some people like to cook,
some people like sports ball.
Yeah, they like all these different things, and they participate in them because they love to do them.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people that cook dinner open a restaurant. Not a lot of people that go for a walk hold their phone in front of them and do a TikTok, you know, or whatever, or try to monetize or get other people to sort of, you know, co-conspire to be part of their creation. And so for me, playing the stuff out and writing the song that people like is much less important than me having the moments in my life that are spent engaged in something that I love doing. Because the more minutes in my life that I'm present doing something that I love, when I total it up at the end and say, okay, well, how did you spend your time and did you enjoy it? You know, probably petting cats is probably going to win.
Yeah, that's right up there.
Petting cats and guitar are going to be, you know, pretty close. You know, they're going to, but petting cats is probably going to win because I petted cats, you know, before I was like 15. So I had a 15-year head start.
You had a routine.
Yeah, and because I want to do what I like to do.
Yeah.
this kind of thing where you guys ask me to go and do this and do a podcast, and then I got to go, and then people will say, "Oh, that's cool," and I got to answer back. And I love everyone. I love all of you, and I'm glad that you're clicking the subscribe button and ringing that bell and doing all those kind of things that you're supposed to be doing. But keeping track of the Mike Gentry that's smiling right now on somebody's Facebook page and saying thank you and this and that and the other thing, that guy's out there working and doing a thing, and somebody's going to come around and bring me back to that moment and separate me from the timeline that I'm in, and then I respond to that, and there's so much of that, and I find that I can, there's a couple things. For one, it takes a lot of time to maintain your second life.
Yeah.
And then there's all these different platforms and stuff like that. So that takes a long time.
Yep.
You have to sort of curate your moments so that you're your ideal self.
Right.
You know, you don't just roll out of bed and, hey, whatever. And some people do that, and that's their thing, and God bless them. So that takes a whole bunch of time away from the thing that I love. I hate promoting my shows. I love when people come,
Yeah.
but I hate the promotion part of it because
Yeah, same.
I do this because I love this. And for me to say, hey, come watch the thing that I do that keeps me from being a, contributing member of society and that I just love to do, and come and see that. I feel a little bit bad, for having people come and watch me do this thing that I do for psychological preservation.
But it's a lot of your friends, and you make friends this way. And to you, it's not just about the music itself. You talk to people and you interact, and
Thank you.
You're making friends all the time.
That's the whole everything.
Yeah.
That's the whole everything.
Yeah.
It's the people that are there, the people that are back making the coffee, the people that are setting up chairs, the people that are sitting there that their anniversary, and they're there and they're
It's not just a show. You bring them into your living room, so to speak.
I love
Yeah.
that aspect. I love that aspect of it. I think as performers, a lot of times we're trying to convince people that we're good.
Yeah.
We're trying to be good and show people that we're good. And what I think that, if I was young, I probably would still think this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that what it is that you realize that room full of people, they're there on this night. They came out, they put the keys in the ignition, and they drove. They came, they found a seat, they got something to drink, they're sitting down, and they're in a space. And for them to have an enjoyable evening out doesn't depend on them thinking you're good.
Yeah.
There's some other thing that you can think about in the room, and by acknowledging them and making them feel seen and making them laugh, making them think about something and entertaining them isn't as important as like, wow, man, did you see that dude's like sweet picked E minor
His
arpeggio,
technique.
man, that he fucking learned from Paul Gilbert in 1986 in GIT, man. Because people don't care. Right, he like
Yngwie Malmsteen.
Right. So yeah, we could go. Hey, you want to not? You just come back in 10 minutes after we're done, like nerding out on like sweet picking techniques.
Everybody else.
Right. Here's the sweet picking technique for anybody that doesn't know what sweet picking is, and this is how you would learn it if you wanted to learn it. So you could take a thing like a G chord, like you would down here, right? And sweet picking is just keeping your pick going in the same direction.
Like a strum.
Like a strum. And then you'd go to like a D7 chord, a 5 chord, right?
I know that song.
So if you were going to do a sweep picking thing like that, you'd start up here like, and just practice that. And then you go, okay, that's cool. Take your basic chords. And you know all this stuff, right? And you do your scales. It's just doing a chord one way, doing the chord back the other way, and just practice the guitar. The two-handed stunt guitar Eddie Van Halen thing. Here's my 1 minute. If you're a guitar player out there, if you're not out, somebody else, come back in 30 seconds, go make a cup of tea. Okay, so here's the deal. If you do this like, right, an E major scale. If you just start like this, and your pointer finger will be at the 12th fret and do this, and the idea is not to hit it hard, it's almost like
Tap.
a snake, when you see them go whack, and they go fast, and then they kind of push off, and then if you just went down like this, same notes that you did before, and then add them together. Right? And then if you want to be fancy, you know.
He's doing all that on an acoustic.
And then you can mix them up. And that's how you do that kind of stuff. I never really learned like how to play Eruption and stuff like that. But the ending thing where he does this,
It's fun.
right, that thing, when I heard that, I was like, oh, this is an E. And then the next part is an A minor. So I was like, oh, he's just sounding out the chords with individual notes. And so once I figured out that that's what he was doing, then I could do my own thing. I would figure out the chords to my own songs, and I would figure out how they went. And then I started to do that like in my apartment and stuff when I was living in California, and I'd do it at home and do all of these, you know, stunt guitar things. And I've never really incorporated them into my songwriting or anything, because I'm not a guitar player guy. You know, I don't know any like Hendrix tunes, or I don't know any Stevie Ray Vaughan. I don't know any of it. You know, I know like maybe a Zeppelin song, but I don't know the language, the repertoire. I'm unfamiliar with it. What I know is what I know, and that's it. And so that's kind of what I'm stuck with. But I know what they're doing, and I can see what I can do with, you know, the Lego pieces. You know, I'm not really sure how to make a Death Star, you know, out of a Lego.
But I can piece set. Every piece is a different.
Right.
Every piece is different.
Right, and so I just know kind of what I know, and that's it. And I think that goes back to when you're songwriting.
Yeah.
Use what you can do. You ever seen that guy Brushy One String?
No.
Oh man, there's this dude.
Is this a YouTuber?
Yeah, and this is an ancient song, and so you got to find the original one. And he has a song called "Chicken in the Corn."
Oh, I've heard that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I didn't know his name.
Yeah, dude. It's just killer. He's just playing a one-string guitar, man. It's a,
Unitar.
oh, it's like the greatest thing. It's called "Chicken in the Corn." It's got Brushy One String. So if you haven't seen something that's gonna make you smile, look up that. You know, right after you're done with this.
I thought you said they already changed the channel.
Oh, you know, I'm torn about stuff because I like to watch
Yeah.
stuff like this, but I don't know what it is about the things that I watch because it's so varied.
Yes.
You know, I like to watch a channel with those huskies that the mom tells them to not, you know, do their howling and stuff. I love, and then they do, and they sound like people screaming. So I love to watch the screaming huskies. I like to watch cats, like, you know, inadvertently destroying people's living rooms and ripping down.
Did you ever
curtains
watch
and-
the cats that press the buttons?
Yes!
And the buttons talk?
Yes, don't say that, because my wife really wants to get buttons for
Yeah.
our cat. Yeah, she's like, we could teach her.
We got our cat one button and doesn't use it. But, you know,
Okay, so, see? So I'm just saying that for you, babe. Oh, you got one button. You want to play something?
Let's play something together.
Okay, let's play the One Water song. Okay, do you know how that song goes at all?
Just tell me the key.
It's just G, I think.
Okay.
And I haven't played it in a couple months, so here we go.
I'm gonna try to follow along with the bass lines.
Yeah, let's just play. I mean, so it starts on C. Oh yeah. You didn't tell me you were good. Yeah. Now we belong to the sea. You and me, and we'll fall one hand all equally. Like a river, like the rain, like the tears that we'll cry to explain. We'll fall one hand all to the sea. To one world, to one mother, to one life, like no other. We're one son, we're one daughter, we're one love and one water. We're one water. I'll sing another verse and you can just solo like crazy. As our days float on by, you and I will fall one and all by and by. Like a wave to the shore, where it feels like we've been here before. Like a wave, we will all say goodbye to one world, to one mother, to one life, like no other. We're one son, we're one daughter, we're one love and one water. And we're one water. And Andy, ladies and gentlemen. One world, that was great. One mother, one life, like no other. We're one son, one daughter, we're one love and one water. We're Gentlemen,
Thank you. Good night.
that was fun, right? Dude, it's good. This
What-
was great.
What a
That
great
was.
song.
That was fun.
It's
Thank
a
you,
beautiful
guys.
song.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm honing some of the bass playing skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's weird because I'm listening to you and I'm listening to you and I'm like trying to remember how the song goes and all that stuff all at the same time and trying to,
It was almost like we practiced.
It was almost. Oh, speaking of that, man, I played at this Bruce Springsteen tribute thing on Friday night at the Lager House, and it was fantastic. Mike Ward and Angie Ward were and Nick Juno kind of like put it together, and there's other people that I'm forgetting, and it was a huge amount of people that were there.
Nice.
And it was fantastic, and I was downstairs, and I was going to play this Springsteen song called The Time That Never Was, that nobody ever heard of. And there's a band, Giacomo, and Jimmy Showers, guitar player, was down there. And, you know, met him before, like on FaceTime when I was, producing a record via pandemic nonsense. And he's like, hey man, you want to play? And he's 29, right? And super earnest and just unbelievably great guitar player. And so I'm like, yeah, sure. And he says, what are you going to play? And I said, oh, it's This Time Never Was. And man, that dude was killer. He was so good. And it was this kind of thing. I'm from this school, exactly, right here, where we're like, let's just play, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And that was great. When he came in with the solo there, that was the little double stoppy little deal.
Hey, I was about to go like this. How do you do that again? I figured that might not fit. It's fun to know those techniques like Mike was showing you, and to understand the major scale, and like, I know that it goes like this. Okay, but then you also have to know when to just play a G chord.
Right.
Yes.
And like, when you went like this.
Yes.
Okay, well, during the solo, I know that you got to land on E.
And you nailed it.
When he
and so
plays
did
E
you.
minor, I mean, we all got to play E at the same time.
Yes.
And that's way more important than being able to go,
Yeah.
No way, dude.
if you can't land on E at the moment when the rhythm guitar player plays an E,
Right.
you're on the wrong note.
That's
I
right.
don't care how fast you're playing.
You know, my first inclination was to play.
4/4.
But I wanted to try something a little different.
No, it was great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the numbers will tell the truth,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I like about acoustic, is like, if you have an electric guitar in your hand, this will never work.
Yeah.
No. But that song came out of need to do something and to say something. When I had the chorus, the one world, one mother, la la la, whatever. I listened to it and I was like, I can't believe this, and I was completely petrified that there was no way I was going to be able to write words for verses that weren't going to be terrible and ruin it.
Because the hook is solid.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what am I going to do to it's like if you painted a portrait of somebody and you nailed it, and then you're terrified because what do I put in the background?
Right.
Because I can make or break this thing by what's surrounding it. There's like the foreground and then the background. And if the background looks terrible,
Yep.
and so what I did was I wrote down a whole bunch of water words.
Yeah.
I wrote wave and shore and river and sea and
Ripple.
Dripping faucet.
Yeah, right. And so I wrote down a whole bunch of water words.
Dripping faucet.
A dripping faucet, right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Keeping you awake at night.
Moist.
Well, yeah, I worked in moist 4 or 5 times, I think, in there, because isn't that like one of the words that people don't like?
Right.
Yeah.
I
don't know why.
I don't either.
Yeah.
It never bothered me. I think it just became like trendy to not like that word.
Yeah.
But my advice for people they're starting out in this thing, people ask me, how do I get these gigs at places? Because I get some pretty cool shows. I've got to tour and I've got to do all that kind of stuff. I don't send out emails. I don't call people. I don't do anything. Mike Bile, he laughs because Mike Bile is really, for one, he's a great guitar player, singer-songwriter,
Definitely.
great human being, and will one day, be a state representative.
Hope so.
Mike Bile is an amazing individual, but I don't do anything. But what I started to do was at the open mic that I did the thing. My wife said, well, if you're going to go out and play solo acoustic guitar, and this was like 2015, she said, you need a smartphone, because I just had a flip phone, and she said, and you need to be on Facebook. Neither of those things did I want to do, but I did them. And I went to the Plymouth Coffee Bean, was the first place that I played an open mic. And I thought, okay, I don't have any friends because I'm not on Facebook. So I got on Facebook, I did that. I went to the Plymouth Coffee Bean, I sat up close and I took pictures of the people, and I would like be like, okay, in the chorus they do this really cool thing, and so I'd take a bunch of pictures and find the pictures where all these people looked good, and they were all younger people and stuff, and I'd say, are you on Facebook? And they'd said, yes. And I would say, is it okay if I Facebook friend request you? And they would say, yes. So while they were playing, I would be writing down, you know, what they were doing, what songs they played, and what I thought was cool about what they were doing. So then I'd go home that night, and I would Facebook friend request them when I got home. And then in the morning, there'd be, oh yeah, it was that guy that was at the thing, and they would say yes. And so then I would post you remember these?
I do
these
remember.
We used to call that
Awakenings.
networking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I would write, and for me, I just wanted to be able to remember who the people were.
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
I saw them again, I would have some reference and I would remember them. But because I didn't know how social media worked, I knew nothing about any of it. But it slowly snowballed into, I was playing like 4 or 5 open mics a week, doing this at every single one of them. It ended up me hosting. At Rude Awakenings, I continued to do the thing.
Yeah.
I moved to Third Monk and was doing 2 open mics a week, taking pictures of everybody. And so people eventually would start asking me to open for them. And so I would start opening these great shows. And then I'd play these places and the owners and talk to them and so on. And then they eventually would say, hey, we have some open times. Do you want to come and play this? Like Crazy Wisdom in Ann Arbor, which is reopened again.
Yeah, Crazy Wisdom. I remember going to see music there in the 90s, and then they stopped having music for a long time.
Yes, the pandemic, actually, I had a show booked at Crazy Wisdom, I think it was for March 11th of 2020.
Yeah.
And it ended up getting canceled.
Right in the very beginning.
Right at the very beginning of the pandemic. But it's back now, and Stuart Bembo is the person that's doing the booking for that, and he is just a...
Stuart's awesome.
He is just a... It's hard to, there's not superlatives that really capture what...
Or who he is.
Yeah, or who he is,
He's a great songwriter, great singer, and he's a really nice guy.
Extremely so, and really, really works hard to help people to play out, to perform. He's a really hard worker. He does those fawn things and stuff like that too. Yeah. He participates in those, and he's fantastic.
He also teaches guitar, I believe, at Washington.
Yeah, he's an amazing dude. So Stuart, thank you. But that's what I did, and because I wanted to know who people were that were out in the thing, because I was out of the loop from when I was playing rock guitar in Hollywood until then. I didn't know if I could play solo acoustic. I didn't even know if it would work. I'd never done it before. I didn't grow up on Bob Dylan and the,
Birds.
Yeah, and the Birds and all the greats. I loved Jim Croce. I loved Jim Croce so much. I loved Elvis. I loved Peter, Paul and Mary,
James
Phil
Taylor.
Oakes. I never really got into James Taylor, probably because my mom didn't. And I listened to my mom's records.
Yep.
And we lived in the middle of nowhere and had no money, and we had records, and that was it.
Yeah.
And so what records my mom had, that's why I liked Frigid Pink and Janis Joplin. And so the records that I ended up liking were just the ones that I had.
Sure.
I like songs that are songs.
Yep.
They have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and a guitar solo that you can sing. I love that kind of stuff. When I was 15, I was at my cousin Carl's house, and my cousin Carl's a few years older than me, and he knew about cars and girls, and he was just cooler than me, like by infinite. So he was having a party, and I was in the kitchen, and I was sitting, by my lonesome against the kitchen cupboard, looking in through the room, and it was all smoky in there, and there's music blasting, and I can hear like there's a crowd and stuff like that. It's like a live record. And I'm like, man, that just sounds killer. And there was some girl there that had the 70s, hip hugger jeans and the long hair, and she was dancing to the music, and I was just like looking in there, and it was like a whole other world,
Yeah.
It was wild. And so I just, timidly went in there just to see what it was. And I picked up the cover, and it was Kiss Alive. And it was that cover, and I was like, wow, man. And I took it back in the kitchen and looked at all those pictures and stuff like that. And I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, ever. Because I liked like Elvis and Johnny Cash and
Yeah.
stuff, but this was a whole other, it was
Different world.
It was
Yeah.
mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And so that's where I started. The first song I ever learned was Hotter Than Hell, because it went 1, 2, 3, 4, and had an A chord and a D chord, and I figured I can switch chords. I can get to one to the other, and I did it, and my mom had a Ward's Airline acoustic. And when you're a kid, you don't know the difference between guitar tone from nothing.
Yeah.
And man, it sounded just like the record. I was like, this rules. And I think that 1 second of being able to do the thing, it was like at that moment, like my mom,
An
I've said this
epiphany.
before, yeah, I became the guitar with the kid attached. My academic future went careening, flaming into the ditch, and you know, that was it. It was over. I didn't want to do anything ever except play the guitar.
Yeah.
You know, that I'm very lucky in that playing guitar, like when we were sitting and playing just a minute ago, I still get the thrill of it like I did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's the one thing in my life that still feels like the first time I'm doing something, and it's exciting to me.
Yeah.
And I get like a high from it.
Well, there's great passion in this little box of wood with strings.
It's, yes. Yeah, there is. And I think that's the best way to sort of look at it, not as sort of a means to an end. You know, a lot of people picked them up when I was a kid because they thought that girls would like them, or, you know, I had no hope of girls liking me when I started playing. I was 5'1", and, you know, I mean, I had nothing going on. I wore my mom's hand-me-downs, you know, in high school, so I was not, like, cool. But I just loved the sound of the guitar and just everything about it. I loved the way it looked. They just look so cool. And so I just tried and learned, and then I had to learn how to finger pick, and then in 1986 I went to GIT in California. It was in the height of the shred or die era.
Did you have a lot of hairspray?
Occasionally, yeah, yeah. And you know, I was never, I was in that stream and playing with a lot of those hair metal bands. But I was, you know, I got no addictions, no diseases, and no tattoos, and I lived out there for 8 years, right in the heart of the What You Need district of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And so I was always, I just wanted to be good, and I played a lot of ballads, and I played songs about things that mattered to me, and some political stuff, some stuff that were 3-chord songs about girls. I just did what I did. We never were like, you know, chicks and drugs and whiskey, and, you know, we weren't like that thing that we were in.
So you never opened for Motley Crue?
Never opened for the Crew. No, but you know, you'd see those guys. You'd see them around, and I worked at A&M Records for 5 years. So I saw like all of my heroes. You know, they would come through, and I would get to meet like tons of famous people and talk to them and see what they were like when they weren't, you know, being the thing that they were in like Circus Magazine or whatever. And saw that they were just a bunch of losers that sucked in math in high school like I did. Just loved the guitars, you know what I mean? They were just guys like, they were the same. They were just like, man, all I wanted to do was play guitar, man. And I just didn't do my homework. I bombed out of school, and this was it. And, you know, there was no plan B. And same with me.
Yeah.
This thing has, at one moment, been the thing that I love, like, but has probably in a lot of other ways has denied me a lot of other, you know, business opportunities or other ways that I could have been more financially solvent at the age of 62 than I am now. But I don't think I'd change anything.
No. You wouldn't be who you are if you changed one thing.
Yeah, and there's always these, you know, times where you can look back and you can look at like the forks in the road and the decisions that you've made that have led you to where you are, and that if you would have done this, things would have been different. If you would have done that, things would have been different.
So my song Wayback Machine that you played on
Yes.
speaks to that.
Yeah. So talk about that.
That, it's your show, but you did play on that record, my last CD, Bark's Tale, 60,
Yes.
20, 24. I had a bunch of friends play on, including the two of these folks, and I had this one song called Wayback Machine, like, if I'd turn right instead of left, who would I be?
Right.
Would I be a pastry chef or a sports ball referee?
The lyrics to that are absolutely fantastic. by
Thank
the
you.
way.
And
So say some more of them because they're great.
Oh gosh, am I supposed to remember my lyrics? I
Yeah.
write them all the time, and let's
And of
see.
course, for everyone that's younger than 50, the Wayback Machine, you see, it used to be this cartoon, and there was like a dog and a Russian lady or whatever, and they would go back in time, and so,
Right,
but
right,
that's
And I
Rocky
didn't.
and Bullwinkle.
Rocky and Bullwinkle, that's it.
That's
I didn't base it on that.
And now here's something you'll really like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that when I wrote the song. I just thought.
It was Sherman and Peabody.
That was it. That was it. The Wayback
Yeah,
Machine.
I just thought, if one thing was different about my life, I don't know if I'd like who I am. One of the lines is, "Would I even like me if I took a walk in the Wayback Machine?" And today I like me. All the warts and hair in the weird places, and
all the bad decisions.
well, all those decisions, I wouldn't say they're bad. I would say they were educational experiences that inspired me to make different choices.
Yeah, I when you were saying that, sorry, I was just spacing out because I was just trying to remember the words. Because I just wrote a song about this, and it's about that idea.
Yeah.
And the chorus, and I wonder who I used to be because I've begun to notice things I didn't see.
Yeah.
So as we get older,
Yeah.
we see other things and like, well, how come I never noticed that before?
Yep.
I didn't used to think this way.
Yep.
Who was I when I did?
Mm-hmm.
When I thought this other way. I think Bob Dylan and Neil Young and a lot of songwriters,
Yeah.
when they ask them
Yeah.
how they wrote those songs, and they say they don't know. And like I think,
Yep.
Neil Young says, I don't have access to that person that wrote those songs.
Right, because we're different every day.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Bob Dylan's the same. He's like,
Yeah.
I think it's who's the guy that interviews him. It's a famous interview. It's a CBS guy, and he says no. He says, who could ever write something like that?
Yeah.
He said I could never. He said I can do what I can do, but I can't be who I used to be.
Right.
And
I mean, you're not the same songwriter as you were in Shining Farmer,
no,
or
no.
as you were in Chicken Wire Canoe.
Chicken Wire Canoe. Now,
Yeah.
that was weird, man.
Yeah.
That was a weird pandemic project with Brian Delaney. He suggested that we do that. And so we wrote a rock opera. And it was weird and it was cool. It was really super different.
And your voice was a shopping store clerk or something like that.
Yeah. I was it's a, pandemic story where a guy's got a rock band. Pandemic comes. He's just a doofus, but he's got a rock band and he loves it, and pandemic comes, ruins his social life. So because he can't gig anymore, so he becomes an essential worker, which means he has to work his ass off in hazardous conditions, and he doesn't
Yeah.
receive any more pay.
Yeah.
He gets embittered by it. He goes online. He goes down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theory bullshit that has led us to the point we're in now. And he falls for all this crap, and he thinks, man, it's somebody else's fault that things are the way they are. And,
Yeah.
and so then he ends up going to Washington, D.C. and participating in that nonsense, the peaceful, demonstration of January 6th that everybody saw. And so he does that, and then when he's there, he realizes that, well, man, these are probably not the better angels of our nature come to save the Republic.
Yeah.
And he has an epiphany that this is wrong. That this isn't, what makes America great again, or whatever. And so he freaks out, and he's like, oh man, and he gets back on the bus and he goes back home. And he's still himself, and he just wishes he could go back to the world where he just hated his job like a normal person and wasn't afraid that the FBI was going to come and knock on his door.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the rock opera ends.
Yeah. And that also is a way of examining through another person, what who would I have been?
Yes, yeah.
Had I made a different choice?
And you know what, Michael? It was fun,
Yeah.
but I would never want to do it again
Yeah.
unless it was, with those guys and it
Yeah.
was like doing that show. But it's kind of like why I've never played covers, because it was almost it was almost like being in a cover band, being a character, because I
Yeah.
couldn't talk to the audience as Mike Gentry in the way that I do.
Yeah.
I was this other guy. I was Joey Went.
Yeah.
And so, there was a whole weird different way of doing it. The songs were all from like a different person's perspective.
Yes.
It's like cover songs come from they're almost like book learning. They come from a different spot. My own songs come from this one place, and there's like a bookshelf or
Yep.
whatever you want to call it inside of me that my books are on, and I know where my shit is, and I know where it comes from, and I know what it is, and I'll remember a song that I haven't played for 40 years and be able to play it right now.
Yeah.
But some other person's song, I have to study that like it's for a test.
Yep.
And my history as a test taker and a studier is that I wait until 10 minutes before the test, and I study like mad.
Cram.
I cram, and then I do the test, and like 10 minutes later, I don't remember any of it. And so
Yeah.
it's really hard
Yeah.
for me to
Yeah.
do covers. But yeah, sorry to go on a chicken wire canoe
That
tangent, but
I brought you there, and
Yeah.
I saw
It's your fault.
one of the performances. I saw the performance at the Howler Fest,
Oh,
not,
yeah.
not at the Ark,
yeah.
and I really understood, the perspective that you're sharing right now is, that wasn't a normal Mike Gentry experience.
No, it was weird and it was cool, and I'm really glad that we did it, and I'm extremely proud of it. Brian and I think we wrote a lot of really good songs. Brian especially, man. He's not written a lot of songs, and we played together. We traded Hot Wheels in kindergarten.
Yeah.
And we
Marbles?
came up and we loved airplanes, and we drew, and our first band was called Max, and it was together, and we played in the basement. We both got good together, and he went off and got to be a great guitar player. But so when we did the project, if there was a creative decision that I wanted one thing and he wanted the other thing, I would defer to him so that he could have like the experience of having a thing. Be really the driving force in making this record.
Yeah.
And so and this is giving me goosebumps thinking about it, because I love Brian, and we've been friends for as long
Forever.
as we can remember.
Yeah.
But to look at the thing and see that it says words and music by Mike Gentry and Brian Delaney, and that we made something together, like you're saying about the choices that you make in your life.
Yeah.
To be able to get to that point and be 60 years old,
Yeah.
and to do something with your kindergarten friend, I'm gonna cry, is really, I can't imagine, something cooler than that.
Well, and it's those collections of memories that make us who we are. And an hour ago, or however long ago when we first started, that's just a memory now. And we are just a collection of memories that make us who we are and how we think. Am I sounding like a therapist again?
No, I'm just taking it in, man. I'm in one of those spaces where I'm experiencing it and not being aware that I need to respond. I'm just like taking it in, and
it's so easy to get caught up in just listening and forgetting that you're part of something.
oh yeah, it's
It's almost surreal.
yeah. Plus, I just went down a whole weird rabbit hole of like seeing my life, like through the wrong end of the binoculars, everything in miniature, and how things just end up coming out,
Well, this is a memory that you can watch again
Oh,
if you want to.
yeah.
Are we done?
I think we're getting close to the end.
I would love to thank you, Mike Gentry, my good friend, for doing this with us. And it's always great to be in your presence.
Love you, man.
You too.
Thank you for being on our show. I appreciate it, and
We need to play together.
we should play together soon.
That was extremely enjoyable.
I had a great time, and here's my thought about it.
Yeah.
Like-
thank you, Andy.
you've described a lot about your songwriting and what goes on with the wheels turning inside your mind. And I'm not a singer. I'm not a great singer. Okay, so in college I sang in madrigal singers. Okay, we had a 12-piece group.
I remember you guys.
We went to Carnegie Hall and sang in 1997. So I guess I could say I sang in Carnegie Hall.
It's tremendous.
And so I performed there. But you know what? I'm not a strong singer, and so my expertise relies on like classical guitar. And
You gonna
stuff.
play us out?
But I might play a little thing for you.
Let's play it.
But,
Let's play us out.
One thing I want to say before we leave, Andy and I are playing at El Limon on February 20th,
Oh yeah,
5:30 to
Yeah,
7:30.
come check us out, February
And-
20th.
You know, since I can't play his music, he's playing mine.
The 20th?
Yeah, February 20th.
Oh, okay, so 220. And El Limon, Ann Arbor,
Yeah,
unbelievably good food.
absolutely.
Unbelievably good food. Just crazy good. So
Yeah.
come to. Now I look like a weird guy without glasses, don't I? Okay, now I look like me again. But yeah, come and see them because for one, the food is great
Yeah.
and they're going to be cool, and you can sit and listen to cool music. So you're gonna
I'm gonna do some
Andy,
shredding.
Michael,
But
take
hey,
us out, man.
that song that we had just played, you know, your water song.
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
got to the solo and you're like, take it away, Andy. You know what? I got excited because here's the thing. I'm about to play something I've never played before. And remember how you were talking about the joy of, oh, I played an
Yes.
A chord, I played a D chord. Oh, I just like to listen to the sound of it. Well, here's me. I get to play a solo consisting of notes I've never put together ever before in my life. And so, wow, this is brand new. This is something I've never done. And so, anyway, what I'm trying to describe is every time I pick up the guitar and shred a little solo in someone's song, I get to do something I've never played before. It's fresh for me. Hey, maybe it's fresh for you too. Maybe you've never heard it before. So maybe I'll come up with something I've never done and it's brand new to me. And so to me, that's really exciting. That's what I like doing on the stage. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah,
To be up there and not just to go, here's this thing I've played before, everybody. You're getting something that's brand new right now.
Like
That
tightrope walking, kind of.
Yeah.
yeah, I might fall off and I might play a F natural or something. And
So you're gonna play us out, man.
okay, let's see, what can I play? I'm gonna do
Play a
blues.
Mary Jig upon the guitar,
I'm
my
gonna
lad.
do a blues. I'm gonna do that blues that
Oh,
you heard
yeah.
at the beginning and play along if you want. Thank you. Good night. was fun.
There we go. That's a Three
That was
Musketeers
fun.
action there.
All right, that does it for this week's episode of Studio C in the Listening Room. This
Thank
is Andy Schiller, Michael Snyder-Barker, special guest Mike Gentry. Thanks for
Thank you,
tuning in to
guys.
our podcast, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Rock on.
Bye.